This man thought he could crush my store with lawsuit after lawsuit, but instead he exposed his own corruption to the entire courtroom. I was 26 when I decided I'd had enough of working a crappy job and wanted to start something of my own. I live in a small Midwestern town with maybe 1,000 people, and when you grow up in a place that small, everyone knows everyone. One weekend, I went into the nearest city, about 30 minutes away, to buy alcohol for a party. At the register, I nearly choked. $15 for a six-pack of local beer. That's when it hit me. There was money to be made here. I started running numbers in my head. My town had visitors all year round because of the nearby national forest. If the city liquor stores were gouging people that badly, what was stopping me from opening a store with fairer prices? A couple weeks later, I sat down with my friend's mom, who also happened to be the president of the local bank. With a good business plan, some research, and maybe a little luck, I walked out with a loan at a fantastic rate. I bought an old building, ironically a former bank, and with my dad's help as a contractor, we got to work. By May, I had the licenses, the suppliers, the shelves stocked, and the doors open. And business was good, really good. I priced everything with about a 35% markup, which was still way below the 80% markup the city stores were charging. The locals loved me. The weekenders loved me. In my very first week, I cleared $4,000 in profit. For once, I was my own boss, and it felt incredible. But good fortune never goes unnoticed. A few weeks later, an older guy strolled into the store. Seemed nice enough, until he offered to buy me out for a sum so low it wouldn't even cover my loan principal. I laughed it off and refused. He left with a warning. "You'll be sorry you turned that down." I didn't think much of it until the lawsuit started. First, a man I'd never even met sued my business for libel, claiming my newspaper ads hurt his reputation. I looked him up. Guess who it was? The same guy who tried to buy me out. Turns out he owned both liquor stores in the nearby city. He was also on city council and, get this, the head of the very board that approved liquor licenses. Small town corruption at its finest. I panicked, but luckily, my uncle's a lawyer in a neighboring state. I called him up for advice, and after a quick review, he said, "We'll take this case pro bono." 3 weeks later, case dismissed. But this guy wasn't done. The very next day, I was served again. Same lawsuit, same claims, only this time he sued me personally instead of the business. Dismissed again. Over the next few months, he dragged me into court 4 more times, trying to bleed me dry. He thought he could bankrupt me with legal fees until I'd have no choice but to fold. What he didn't know was that my uncle handled everything pro bono. The only thing I ever spent was gas money driving to court. By the 5th case, the judge called us all into a settlement meeting. My uncle, the opposing lawyer, a bailiff, the judge, and me. The judge asked if there was any way to end this cycle of nonsense. The guy's lawyer slid an offer across the table. If I sold my business to him for pennies on the dollar, he'd drop everything. I laughed in his face. My counteroffer? "You drop this case and I won't sue you for harassment." That's when he exploded. He sneered that I should be grateful for his offer, that he could sue me into bankruptcy and buy my shop for nothing when the bank foreclosed. He basically admitted out loud that the lawsuits were nothing but a weapon to crush competition. The judge looked disgusted. Even his own lawyer looked like he'd swallowed a lemon. My uncle leaned over calmly and said, "Just so you know, my nephew hasn't paid a dime in legal fees. I've taken every single case pro bono. And after that outburst, I think you just guaranteed we'll be suing you instead." The room went silent. Days later, the man dropped all his lawsuits. Right now, my uncle and I are preparing our own case against him. We're being careful, because my uncle says if we go too high on damages, it might look vindictive. But make no mistake, I plan on holding him accountable for months of harassment and corruption. Looking back, I realize how close I came to losing everything. If it weren't for my uncle, I'd probably be bankrupt and out of business by now. Instead, my store is thriving, and the man who tried to bully me out of town is about to get a taste of his own medicine. And this time, I'll be the one taking him to court.